We're finally here to 8.2 where we're going to be able to start using information from a sample to make predictions about populations, and we can do it with confidence. We're going to look at an overview of how to do our check for conditions, and our state plan do conclude everything to do with inference. So state exactly what it is you're finding and using context. Your plan, it's going to be the three-part check for your conditions, but when you are done, you are going to add this statement. The conditions were met for a normal approximation for a 1 proportion Z interval. I cannot stress enough that this little statement here is so important to add to the end, and we're going to look at a problem that shows that. The three conditions you already are familiar with. The first one is randomization. The 10% rule is your check for independence, and your large counts. That would be your n times p must be greater than or equal to 10, and the n times q, or n times 1 minus p, must also be greater than or equal to 10. Show all of your work and find the final answer. So that's doing your normal approximation. And then we're going to conclude with the statement that I had you memorized in the last video. We are what % confident that an interval from what to what captures the true proportion of what you were trying to find in your statement. What do we do if one of our conditions is violated? Because they do put this question sometimes on the AP exam, is how do you proceed if you don't have one of the conditions met? If the randomization condition is violated, then the sample may become biased, meaning, remember, bias doesn't mean there's a problem, doesn't mean there's some influence. It just means that our sample may not actually center around the true population center. If independence is violated, in other words, we're failing that 10% of the population rule, then our standard deviation is going to be inaccurate, since our probability will be changing as the independence changes. Then the standard deviation will constantly be changing its variance, its variation, and there's no way we can accurately get a correct standard deviation. If our large counts is violated, we really can't be sure of the shape of our sample distribution. In other words, there's no way to calculate a critical value because we're basing that for now on a normal distribution, but we are going to learn different shapes in the future. And just as a reminder what those are, I did put them out in the margin here. So independence means n is less than or equal to the population, and the large counts n times p has to be greater than 10, and n times q has to be greater than or equal to 10. What is a standard error? It's simply the standard deviation that we've calculated from the statistic. We've never called it that before, but we did see it in Chapter 7. It's the same formula that we saw in Chapter 7. You might recall this formula is, so standard error, it's the same notation. Just know every once in a while they call it standard error because it's calculating the variation to expect from our sample. So our standard deviation of p hat is equal to the square root of p times q over n. And it actually should be p hat and q hat, since those are the measurements of our statistic. Once we know all of our conditions have been met and we've calculated our standard error, we can find the endpoints for our confidence interval, so that lower and upper bound for your unknown proportion p. It's really simply p hat plus or minus. So the minus will give us the lower bound, the plus will give us the upper bound of z star times our new standard error. And don't forget that those two together make our margin of error. You might be asking yourself, what is this z star? It's not really any different than z. It's just the z star. That's the critical value that we have selected for our confidence percentage. We went over those common z star scores in 8.1 on that last page. Sometimes a problem will actually ask us to work backwards and to calculate the sample size needed to get a very specific margin of error and a specific confidence interval. So I'm going to review some things we just did and put them in a different light because we need all of these things to do a problem like this. I just had told you that the margin of error is the z star times the standard error, but I'm going to actually write out the formula this time. I'm going to back up a little bit and stress that when we're choosing the sample size, this means it's before we found our p hat. We don't know what p hat is. It's an unknown because we haven't done a sample yet. So the z star, once again, I'm going to clear one thing up. It's got the star on it because it's normal. It's implying that we're going to use that table A. Remember, a z-score does not have to necessarily come from a normal distribution. It's just the number of standard deviations away from the center, no matter what the shape of the distribution is. So just wanted to clear that up. The z star implies that this is a score taken from a normal distribution. And finally, we are going to let our p equal 0.5 or our p hat equal 0.5 as a guess for our margin of error. That p needed the hat on it. Why are we going to use 0.5? Anytime it asks you to do this question, we're going to use 0.5. So in the standard deviation formula, we've got p hat times 1 minus p hat. If p hat equals 0.5, then 1 minus p hat is also 0.5. And that will give me 0.25. And what that is the largest value, the largest product we can get with those two proportions. If I go down to 0.4, then that would be times 0.6, and that would only give me 0.25. So 0.5 times 0.5 is the largest product I can get. So we want that p hat to be as large as possible because we want our sample size to also be as large as possible. If it turns out that my sample shows a very small p hat and my n is also very small, I'm going to miss that condition for normality as going to give us an incorrect margin of error and an incorrect standard deviation because it won't be met based on a normal distribution. The information on the previous page was all based on when p hat was unknown. Let's read through this one, and I'm going to show you that in this problem, p hat is known. When we dig into this problem, you'll see what we're talking about. It's right here. It asks for using this value as a guess for P. So they've done a survey before, and now they want to do the same survey again, and maybe they just can't remember how many customers they surveyed the last time. So they want to calculate how many customers should they survey to get the same result of a margin of error of 3% and a 99% confidence level. So let's write down what we know. P hat equals 0.8. Margin of error that we want is 0.03. The Z star score at a 99% confidence level, if you look at your previous notes, 8.1, That number is 2.576. And that number might be rounded on your previous notes. That's the more accurate answer. Putting everything together into the margin of error formula, we get the margin of error, which was 0.03, has to equal this formula. And then we're going to work to solve for n. Start by dividing the 2.576 from both sides, and we end up with 0.0116. I also went ahead and multiplied 0.8 times 0.2 to get 0.16. Find the square of both sides to get rid of that square root, and then cross multiply to solve for n. And we end up with 1,190. You always want to round up. Right, last bit, there's this problem here. I'm going to let you read through it, and it's already worked out for you, but I want to point a few things out. So this would be a completed confidence interval for proportion. I want to point out some things. First off is this statement. We can shorten it slightly, but this part right here, this part that's in bold, says it right here. It's critical to state what type of calculation we're doing. We're doing a one proportion Z interval. Why is it called a one proportion? Because guess what? In the future, we're going to do two proportions. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this does not show the normal curve. You should still be showing the normal curve for this problem. And this is just to show that I understand I'm looking for that 90%, 95% range. I'm looking for my lower bound and I'm looking for my upper bound. And that's what's given right here. That's our final answer. So that lower end would be 0.32 and that upper end would be 0.38. And finally, notice that we've got that statement that you should memorize. We are 95% confident that the interval from bam to bam captures the true proportion of all bears killed that are female.